The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Almighty and ever-living God, source of all wisdom and understanding, be present with those who take counsel for the renewal of the mission of your church. Teach us in all things to seek your honor and your glory. Guide us to perceive what is right, and grant us both the courage to pursue it and the grace to accomplish it. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Prayer. There's an app for that. Sorry. That's the kind of mood I'm in, folks. Just look out. Every January, we pause for 2 weeks to focus on the business of being church and on the governance of our church. For those of you who have been at Holy Communion for a while, you'll know that the annual meeting is a focus point in our year together. The annual meeting will be next week at 9:15. Those persons who are members on the rolls, who are confirmed, and who are 16 years or older may participate as voters in the annual meeting, which will be next week. We also follow up the annual meeting after the 10:30 service with a wonderful homemade barbecue put on by Richard Hollis and the Bandit Barbecue team, and we were just talking about those details today, so make sure to come back. We will bribe you with wonderful food if you come to participate in the annual meeting. The meeting is at 9:15. The lunch follows the 10:30 service. I'd like to give just a quick word of introduction before I invite our nominees to speak. The Episcopal Church is a republic, not a democracy. We don't have congregational meetings where you all will vote on the budget or vote on the rector or vote on whatever. We have one vote a year, and in that vote, you elect the people who will make those decisions on your behalf. The Vestry is our governing body. They are the fiduciaries of the parish, so they're ultimately responsible for stewarding the money and the property and working with me on the governance and oversight of the church. That board is made up of 15 persons, 5 people on rotating 3-year terms. So we have 5 people rotating off, and of the 7 people who have been nominated and possible nominations from the floor, 5 will rotate on. So that's what we're about, and that's the purpose. At your handouts today, you have a yellow sheet in addition to your white sheet, and the yellow sheet is the biographies and descriptions of the 5 people who are rotating off the vestry. So these 5 persons have served for the last 3 years and will be finishing up their service next week. So this is going to tell you who we're losing on the vestry, what kind of experience and skills they bring to the work, if that's relevant to your discernment. I'd also like to just talk for a moment about decision-making in the church. When we sit down to cast ballots and make elections and have nominees and candidates, we can start to import language from civil society. And I would encourage you not to do that, particularly in these days when things are so contentious in our political environment. The purpose of voting in the church and electing in the church is not for one group to beat another group, to defeat another group, for some to win and others to lose. The question is, of the 7 people who have offered themselves and their gifts, who is God calling into this particular leadership role at this particular time? Who is God calling into this particular leadership role at this particular time? Those of you who've been around a lot know that folks who don't make it onto the vestry their first time up for election often make it on the vestry subsequently, because it's a timing thing. Not what person is better than the other person, but who is God calling to this particular role at this particular time. For the 2 persons among this group who are not elected to vestry, I'll be in conversation with them to talk about how we can get them involved in an important leadership role. We've got a major construction project underway. We've got financial things to work on. We've got strategic plans that are going to be unveiled next week. We have a lot going on at Holy Communion, and it's my very sincere hope that all 7 of the persons who have been nominated will find themselves in very significant leadership roles very, very soon. So any questions about what the vestry is, what our purpose is as electors and members of the church? Right. In the spirit of In the spirit of discernment and asking who it is that God has called to this particular leadership opportunity at this particular time, I'd like to thank the 7 people who have agreed to have their names put forward to Vestry. It is not an easy thing, and so please give them lots of grace and lots of love and lots of thanks. We have 6 with us today. Bradley Fogelman was unable to be with us, and her husband, Robert Fogelman, will be speaking on her behalf. The election will take place at 9:15 next Sunday morning. The bylaws of Church of the Holy Communion specifically prohibit us from giving absentee ballots, so if you wish to participate, you do have to be at the meeting. We've designed this so that each nominee will speak for a few minutes just to give you a little bit more information than is on the sheet. That will not take our whole time. That is intentional. After each of the nominees has spoken, we'll sort of adjourn the formal session and invite them just to be available for informal conversation where you can ask any further questions that you might have. We'll proceed in alphabetical order by last name, which makes our first speaker Ellie Bakelar.
Thanks. Good morning. My name is Ellie Bakelar. About a month ago, I was speaking to a friend of mine about the Vestry nominations, and she asked if it was something I'd ever considered. I have often thought about the Vestry and have always known it was something I wanted to do. Growing up here, I watched my parents both serve in leadership roles at the church, and I was honored to be considered. I told her I'd like 24 hours to think about it. The reason I wanted 24 hours was not because I was unclear if I wanted to run. It was because if I'm going to take something like this on, I take it seriously, and I want to give it the time and energy it deserves. As all of you know, the Vestry to some degree represents all of us in decisions being made for the church, and it is not something to be taken lightly. The same day, I ran into my friend, Mary Henry Thompson, and I said, I've been asked to run for the Vestry. What do you think? And she said, do you want to know how the sausage is made? And I thought, yes, I do. At that moment, I knew I would like to pursue the nomination. I currently co-own and run 2 fairly large pediatric dental practices. I have worked in small businesses the majority of my career, and at the end of the day, as we all know, this church is also a small business. I think I am a good candidate for the Vestry because I understand the many decisions that must be made with regards to budgets, strategic planning, and often limited resources. I understand that some decisions in these areas can be difficult, and they are often made when the consequences are not fun. In addition to my personal business experience, I've sat on many boards ranging from private organizations to charter schools over the years, and I'm quite familiar with board responsibilities. Over the past few years, I have wound down my participation on these boards as the terms have ended, and for that reason, I feel like this is a very good time for me to run for the Vestry. I have the time, I feel like I have the experience that would benefit the church, and probably most importantly, I have the desire to deepen my knowledge of the workings of the business of this wonderful church. Another big reason that I would like to very much be a part of this Vestry at this particular time is the A-team group of clergy we have at the helm. I mean Sandy, Hester, Randy, and now Jonathan. What a team. I would love to work closely with these incredibly talented people to better our experiences and help with the decisions that will impact our church for many, many years to come. We have a wonderful opportunity here right around the corner with these beautiful new buildings under construction. We must not fail in our efforts to utilize them and determine what role they will play, not only within our church community, but also in the Memphis community. I have attended this church since I was 9 years old. My entire spiritual life has resided within the walls of this holy space with this parish. It is a place that I find a tremendous amount of peace knowing is present in my life. Throughout my childhood and into adulthood, it has been a constant space of solace and joy. In this church, I was confirmed, married, and baptized, and my daughter was baptized. My daughter is now beginning her spiritual journey at Holy Communion. The youth program is an area that I believe is an important one, and we need to continue to nurture and grow it. I feel that our foundation as an establishment is a steady one, but how to remain relevant and strong during a time that many churches have experienced a decline in their membership and attendance is at the forefront. It will require thoughtful strategic planning as well as strong leadership. It is a great time to be at Holy Communion. I look forward to engaging in its future success. I have no doubt that with wonderful opportunities await, and the future will be bountiful if we are committed to our mission and ministries. I am honored to be considered for the Vestry alongside the other 6 wonderful candidates. Thank you.
Thank you, and good morning. I am honored to be nominated with this great group. Just a minute, I got the whole thing. And would be honored to serve with the current very accomplished Vestry members. My name is Tricia Dewey, and my family and I have been attending Holy Communion since 2006, and I was received by the bishop in 2012. Helen is a junior at St. Mary's. Joe's on the ski trip, and he is a sophomore at MUS. And John is about to turn 10 and in 4th grade at St. George's. They are so happy to be with me this morning. Eric is running a trail race where I might also be, but here I am. And I was hoping to see Christy Yarborough, who nominated me this morning, but I don't see her, but thank you for nominating me. I was raised Catholic. I went to 12 years of Catholic school. When looking for a church after we moved here 16 years ago, I had met Kristen Lynch at a kinder music class who mentioned that Holy Communion was an amazing and welcoming place. And the first day that Helen and I visited here, it was packed, and I looked up in the choir loft, and there's Kristen, and then in the pulpit that day was Catherine Bush, who was preaching about Mary Oliver, who's one of my favorite poets, and I just was amazed, and I thought, here I've found my place. Since that time, I have worked in many of the different church programs. I was in the atrium for a few years. I was working at Shady Grove Elementary with Team Reed before it became Team Reed. Ran the Christmas pageant for several years. Led a book study, have worked with the Shrimp Dinner for the past 5 years. Have been Julie's assistant coordinator for the Book It 5K. Just has been an amazing experience raising money for great groups. And have also worked at More Than a Meal with my family, and this year we've committed to go every month, and it is just a fantastic experience. During the 16 years I've been here, I have coached at least one team in 16 seasons, either soccer or basketball, and sometimes both. And I mention all of these works because they highlight the great work that Holy Communion does in the community, and that we will have the potential to do so much more. All of these experiences have given me the chance to meet many people at Holy Communion that I might normally not meet in the forum or in the service, and also to meet people out in the community. Our experiences, I think my kids would agree, even though sometimes on Sundays we may not want to get up and go to Grace St. Luke's. Once we get there, it's just a fantastic experience. So many of these meaningful experiences have helped me to try to live the life we talk about here in the forum and in the service. 2 summers ago, I had the chance to look at other churches' fitness areas with Julie Fike. We went around to various churches and looked at how they were using their fitness rooms, their spaces, and took that information back and made some recommendations as to how we would design and use our fitness spaces. So that was a great experience. And looking forward, I look forward to Marlene Shaw's work with strategic planning and talk about how we are going to use our new spaces to invite new people and for our current members. I'm really excited about figuring out our best uses and taking everyone's information, and excited about the potential for our new members and our new spaces. Also excited about further collaborations with St. Mary's and what that might look like. I want to borrow Sandy's slogan. Ellie mentioned it. It's a great time to be at Holy Communion. And I want to just say, just adjust it a little bit if I know it's your thing, but it's going to be an even greater time. I know we look out there and we're making progress. The steel is going up. It's hard to imagine it actually being finished, but it's going to be truly exciting, and I'm really excited about our future, our potential, and our growth. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Bradley Fogelman, and I'm terribly sorry not to be here with you all today. I had a family obligation that was planned before I knew I was even up for the vestry. I feel so honored and grateful for being nominated for this important position. As a lifelong Episcopalian, the church has helped support me through many stages and events in my life. I would love to give back through being in leadership here at Holy Communion. I'm excited about the growing energy here and proud to call Holy Communion my home of faith. The current construction project shows the enthusiasm, vision, confidence, and determination that this congregation has for the church. As an elected member of the vestry, I would like to see that energy grow even more and see further projects fulfilled to completion. The new buildings will bring new members and new opportunities for this congregation and the communities that we serve. I have served in several ministries here at Holy Communion, including Pastoral Care, Celebration Sunday, the Nave Design Committee, Children's Choir, and the Shrimp Dinner. I have learned from each and every one of these groups different skills and different needs that this congregation has. I feel that I bring an open mind and heart to this chance to serve. With children at home, I have interest in seeing the youth programs grow, but would be able to prioritize funding for ministries based on the greater need at that time. My daughter Eliza is currently a student at St. Mary's Episcopal School, and therefore I see the need and impact these buildings have on both organizations. My son Foster and my daughter Eliza have been involved with many years of Holy Communion's recreational leagues, and I believe these vibrant leagues further support our impact in the community. With the new facilities, these ministries have the capacity to grow even stronger. Serving in this role would allow me the opportunity to broaden my knowledge base of what a true gem Holy Communion is to so many individuals here in Memphis. I believe I am a motivator, and I bring positive energy and ideas to any task at hand. Having served on several boards here in Memphis, I feel that I understand the tough decisions that will arise and the importance of prioritizing. If given the opportunity to serve, I will assess through objective lenses to find the best solution for whatever is placed in front of me. These skills will help me to work together with those already leading this church and new leaders in the years to come. Again, I'm very sorry not to be present today, but wanted to thank you for including me in this very strong slate of potential leaders.
Good morning. My name is Steve Maury. I've been a member of Holy Communion my whole life. My parents were at Calvary, and somewhere in the course of raising 5 kids, they determined if they were going to drag 5 kids to church, they should probably do it at the one around the corner rather than one downtown. They both served on the vestry. Mom, I think, really enjoyed it. Dad, not so much. He served on the vestry when I was in high school. When I was in college, he was asked to run again, and he declined. But the asker was pretty persistent. Ultimately, he agreed to stand for the vestry. On election day, it ended up a tie with he and one other. They had a runoff, which he lost. On the drive home, Mom said to him, "Boy, that was close." And he said, "You're not kidding. If I'd voted for myself, I would have won." That's a true story. That's a true story. Really, I think they both served because they felt like they needed to. I think it's important if you're a member of a group like this that you're ready to give back. I think that's why we're all here today. I am a banker for 33 years. I have been a retail banker, and in the last 22 years, I've been a construction lender, real estate lender. One thing I've learned through that is you get things done in that position through collaboration. That is a skill I think I bring to the table. I have to be ready to collaborate with borrowers. I also have to be able to collaborate with my coworkers because I need them to get my loans approved. I think that's important to bring to a board like this. In the past years, we have looked in my memory 4 church loans. They've been interesting to go through. It's an interesting process to lend to a church. We approved 2 of them and we passed on 2 of them. The two we passed on, really, we felt the reach exceeded the grasp of the church. One was trying to take on a building that was way, way too big for their abilities, financially and otherwise. The other was a situation where the church was trying to take on way too much debt relative to the membership. It was putting way too much of a burden on them. So those we passed on. The other two we felt really good about. I think it's an interesting perspective to bring to a group like this, to have looked at deals like that. We were asked to consider priorities. How would we prioritize things should we be elected? I look at that short run and long run. In the short run, I think our priority has to be finishing what's on our plate. We've got a lot of work to do construction-wise. We need to get that done in the right way. We need to get it done financially. To the extent that there's any debt overhanging when this is done, I think it's important that we all step up and handle it quickly and get it behind us. We've been blessed to have no debt on this church for a while, and it's a great position to be in, and it'd be good to get there again quickly. Over the long run, my priorities for this church revolve around continuation and continuity. As I said, I grew up in this church. I played basketball here. I played my first game here. I played baseball here. Sunday school, acolyte, all of that. My children now are on the same path. They're playing sports. They're in the choir. They're doing all those things that I did. They're making friends here that they don't see all week long, just as I did. I still have friends and speak to them on a regular basis that I met here. And that's what I want for them, and I want them, should it happen, to bring their kids to this church and have the same experiences. And so it's important, I think, for us to set long-range goals of keeping this church stable, having programs that attract people, and keep it on a good financial footing. I thank you for the opportunity, and I know, looking at the table, no matter what happens next Sunday, the church will be in good hands. Thank you.
Thanks. Well, first, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, I am so nervous that I looked out and I saw my mom, and I thought, well, I'll look at my mom, and she looks more nervous than I do. So I'm just going to start. My name is Evelyn McGehee, and I regularly attend the 10:30 service with my daughter, Marshall, and my mom, Susan Russell. I am an independent rep, so I have my own little small business. I travel 5 states, and I'm in sales, and I feel like I do have a skill set that I could bring to the vestry. Anyway, again, we're back to the I'm nervous part. Honestly, really, what I want to say is I love this place. I was baptized and confirmed here. I went to St. Mary's. I left for a while, and I came back when Marshall was 18 months old. And I had been gone for a while, and even though Holy Communion was between priests at the time, it still felt like home that first Sunday, and we've been here ever since. This community, you all have been a third parent for Marshall. If I look out here, I might start crying, so I'm just gonna have to look down. Really and truly a third parent for Marshall, a huge support system for our family. We've been on the receiving end of pastoral care, and I just can't tell you how much that meant. So then Amanda approached me, and I told her I'd think about it. And then I ran into John Lewis, and I told him I would think about it. And I thought about it, and I prayed about it. And then I sat down and I talked to Marshall and Jim. And they were just so supportive and acted like it was a no-brainer. And so I picked up the phone and I called Amanda right then and there. I said, okay, I'll do it. I'll stand for this. I'll get up in front of the congregation and I will talk. And my hope is, look at this great panel. As as we've heard, I mean, it's going to go well no matter how it goes. So, but my hope is that I could give back to this place that I love so much and that has done so much for me. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Anna Rojas, and Evelyn, I feel you. My knees are kind of shaking too. To me, Holy Communion means family, and I've been a member of this church family for over 30 years. Most of the important events in my life have taken place in this church: confirmation, marriage, and the baptism of our children. Growing up attending St. Mary's, I spent 6 out of 7 days a week in our sanctuary. Most of you probably know me as either John and Barbara Snyder's daughter or Jane and Ben's mother. The second one is a role I've had the pleasure of doing for the past 5 years. Being a stay-at-home mother has been very rewarding. Before this time in my life, I worked as a nurse in the operating room, managing 2 very demanding units, transplant and cardiovascular. Following the hospital, I was the administrator of a medical practice where I was responsible for all the HR, marketing, accounting, and all other managerial duties. I have 2 undergraduate degrees in biology and nursing and a master's degree in nursing administration. I believe these experiences I gained at these jobs would help me on this vestry. Within the church, I have found a passion for our pastoral care ministry. I started this journey after my daughter was born, when we were the recipients of the ministry's gifts of cards, flowers, and meals, and have become more involved each year. The simple touches that help people in so many ways. Outside of the church, I enjoy volunteering with the Bonner Club because it combines my background as a nurse and my passion for pastoral care. I remain active with St. Mary's as a parent and on the alumni board. Understanding the needs of both our church and the school would be very valuable as we continue this journey with the new building and beyond. At this point in my life, our children are both in school and have reached an age where I'm able to participate in many more things outside of the house. Decision-making and prioritizing is an important job our vestry undertakes. I think the first step in making these decisions is listening to each other. When it comes to making decisions, I would base my choices on what would be most beneficial to the future of our church and the various ministries we support. I would love the opportunity to serve on our vestry and to give back with time and talent to this church that has given me so many blessings and allowed me to create my own relationship with God in a safe place. Thank you.
Good morning. That works? All right. I'm Trey Talley. It's pretty clear what sets me apart from the rest of the group here. I'm the newcomer. There's a minimum of more than a decade between myself and the next least experienced candidate here. There's certainly good and bad that goes along with that, but I figured I would spend most of my remarks more telling y'all a little bit more about me and my family, as more of you don't know us than probably don't know the other candidates. We moved here in the summer of 17, so we've been here a little over a year and a half. We moved here for a job that I've taken with Diversified Trust. My wife and I met in law school in Knoxville, and she is a cradle Episcopalian, but I'm not. I grew up in the Church of Christ, which was a very different experience, but a good one for me. I've been an active Christian my entire life. We grew up going to church 3 times a week, and a joke I've made is that it was a lot easier to skip school than it was to skip church. But we have 2 children. Our daughter, Virginia, is 6 years old and is at St. Mary's in SK, and our son, EB, is 3 years old and is at Grace St. Luke's. You definitely noticed them if you sit behind us at the 10:30 service. They are occasionally quite visible. My prior experience is in most of my experience in the church is in other congregations. We're looking for opportunities to be involved here. We do think it's important to be a part of the community and be invested in it. But when we were in Nashville, we went to Christ Church Cathedral downtown. I spent 4 years on the finance committee, so I do have some of that experience. My job is also in financial and estate planning, so I have some professional experience there as well. I also worked on with the stewardship group, and the way it's structured there is they ask someone to kind of apprentice with the stewardship campaign the first year and then run it the second year and then be kind of an elder resource to the person running it the following year. So it's a 3-year commitment, and I did that. over those 3 years, the year before, I was kind of the clerk of the stewardship committee. So I've spent 4 years working in stewardship as well. And I'm grateful to Nick for the work he did this last year. And I understand the difficulty that it comes along with trying to raise more money, trying to grow as a church financially, and what it costs to grow as a church. I think this is a particularly important time for the church. It's one of the reasons I would like to be involved in the vestry. I think in some ways it's more difficult to maintain momentum than it is to build it, and I think we've been building for a good period of time, and it's important to be thoughtful and considerate as to how we're going to use those resources and move forward as this construction gets completed. And we kind of are defining ourselves as a new structure in town. That said, we're very glad to be here and enjoying being part of this community, and would like to become more and more involved. Whether or not I'm part of the vestry, we're looking forward to the other opportunities and are really enjoying getting to know everybody. But thank you very much.
Thank you to all 7 of our nominees for vestry. The bylaws do provide for election nomination from the floor at the annual meeting. Anyone so nominated will need to be certified as canonically eligible, which is a member of the parish on the rolls, confirmed, 16 years or older, and a giver of record, which are the bylaws requirements. So if there are any nominations from the floor, those will need to be certified. I'd like to offer just one closing comment before we end and have some informal time with our nominees. Many rectors work very closely with vestry nominations to get just the right folks in just the right seats, and that has not been my custom, and I'll tell you that. I'll tell you exactly why. The rector and the vestry dance with each other. In some ways, they have final authority. In some ways, I have final authority. They do my review. When there's a vacancy in my office, they're the ones who make the appointment of that person. And I don't see it as my role to pick the people who are my dance partners. That's your role. So truly, my involvement in this process has been to certify that these 7 people meet the canonical requirements and the requirements of the bylaws. And it's been a privilege to do that, and I certify to you that they all do. As a result of that, there has been some offstage characters today who have been mentioned, and the custom at Holy Communion is for the retiring vestry class to serve as the nominating committee for the incoming vestry class. And so may I ask the 5 retiring vestry members who have been the nominating committee to please stand and be recognized for their work. Amanda Getz headed up this effort. She started in March, was it? March or April? It was a long time ago, long time ago, to make sure that we had the best possible slate. You've heard so many people reference her, again, as an offstage character, and that's just one of those behind-the-scenes ministries that one of your vestry people has been doing so faithfully and so well. My instruction to Amanda at the beginning when she said, "Who do you want me to get?" I said, "Get me a slate of people, each one of whom could be senior warden." And Amanda, I say, well done. Thank you very, very much. We are through with the formal portion of our time today. All of our nominees will be around for informal conversation, and church will start at 10:30. Please make sure to come back for the annual meeting next week at 9:15.